BoJack Horseman has blended genres, covered hot-button issues like politics and addiction, and squeezed in animal puns. But now, Netflix has decided to put its animated Inside Baseball series out to pasture. Thankfully, the streaming service is drawing out its close by giving it to us in 2 chunks. With Part 1 out, we've got a lot to discuss while waiting for 2020's Part 2. I'm Kris Carr, and today we're reviewing the first part of BoJack's 6th and final season.
Oh, yeah.
Before we get to Season 6, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors on Patreon. If you want to be as awesome as these heroes, head on over to our Patreon page and see if a donation tier works for you. You'll help us keep trucking along, and in exchange, you'll get rad swag. If you like your swag free of the good feelings that come with donations, then why not just buy a t-shirt from TeePublic? They cover a multitude of fandoms you can wear plastered across your chest. Click the link below to check them out. Spoiler alert! Now let's start with a quick spoiler-free review before moving into spoiler territory. As always, I'll give you ample warning when we're moving into the spoiler half of the review.
Should we get a selfie?
What? No.
When we last left BoJack, he was just checking into rehab, ready to finally take a hard look at himself. For a good majority of this season, BoJack is working his way through rehab as he challenges the decisions and influences that made him dependent on drugs and alcohol. After 5 seasons of showing BoJack coming to terms with accepting help for his behaviors, this one has the most self-reflective BoJack yet struggle with the road to sobriety. The rest of the cast is also dispersed this season, with early episodes dealing with both Princess Carolyn's new life as a do-it-all mother and Diane's on-the-road life as she grapples with producing the type of internet content she can be proud of for Girl Crush.
This is the 2nd straight year this Michigan resort's food has tested positive for avian botulism.
Wow.
2 years in a row. It's like the Tom Hanks of poisoning people.
Even Todd and Mr. Peanut Butter are off on their own adventures this season, and there's maybe only one episode that brings all of our Hollywood favorites together. It not so coincidentally is the funniest and wackiest episode of the season.
Just as I suspected. Fresh drool. It's Ruthie.
Todd.
And that might be the biggest spoiler-free takeaway of the season. While BoJack Horseman is always entertaining, the start of Season 6 is more concerned with the cerebral storytelling aspects of the show instead of the absurd bits that dominated earlier seasons. Season 6 tries to grapple with itself and the implications of its own characters in the most honest way possible. So much so that self-aware honesty might just be the ultimate theme of the series. And while these more dramatic themes never build to the level of Season 5's free churro, there is no mistake that the series is building to something that just might rival it in Part 2. Ultimately, this first half of the final season will leave you with some big questions, but it feels mostly like a setup for when everyone's personal revelations will be tested when the bull hits the fan in the last half. Now, it's spoiler time. Are y'all ready to talk about details? That's your warning. Part of the beauty of BoJack Horseman is how horsing around has always served as a foil to BoJack's real life. In sitcoms, life lessons are learned and problems and plot lines are tied up neatly in under 30 minutes. They're full of closure and uncomplicated. BoJack's life has been anything but that, void of happy endings. This parallel is highlighted and heightened in Season 6, as BoJack must revisit his past to better understand the root of his drinking. Even the new intro plays with BoJack moving throughout the previous seasons, as the scenes burn away like destroyed film behind him, representing the destructive haze alcohol has had over BoJack's life. We learn that a lot of his worst behaviors were influenced by others. His makeup artist on set, Sharona, his peers, and, unsurprisingly, his parents. The 6th season focuses heavily on BoJack's stint in rehab. Unsurprisingly, BoJack struggles with being there. While he voluntarily checks in, he's definitely just going through the motions. Even once he does start actively participating, he still deflects and doesn't want to think about the why in his addiction.
I don't deflect. Hey, is that a new tie? Because I love it.
You understand a joke about deflection is still a deflection, right?
Rehab constantly tells BoJack that his addiction is due to circumstances that are out of his control, and BJ finds that pretty unsatisfying. He believes he's been bad, that his addiction is bad and his fault. No one ever forced him to drink, ergo, he is responsible for his drinking.
Say ergo one more time.
Ergo.
Now that being said, BoJack does want to get better, and does want to put the work in, and that in itself is huge. BoJack for 5 seasons has deflected, made excuses, and searched for the easy way out. Rehabilitating himself won't be easy, and he gets that. He fears how he'll be in the real world outside of rehab as well. In fact, it takes him until the end of episode 6 to leave the safety of his rehab center in Malibu. Where you can really see BoJack's growth is how much he genuinely wants to make amends. He apologizes to Princess Carolyn again, but it still has meaning.
And I'm sorry for that too.
Why didn't you tell me about the friends and family meetings?
I don't know, you got so much going on, I didn't want to bother you.
I would have come.
He still feels the guilt of Sarah Lynn and recalls how he and Sharona inadvertently gave her her first taste of alcohol, and how BoJack allowed Sharona to completely take the fall for it. He apologizes to her as well, and Sharona helps BoJack literally shed the old him, giving him a haircut and removing his dye job, embracing his age. Throughout the season, failing Sarah Lynn will be lingering and gnawing away at BoJack as he tries to make the right life decisions. This cartoon handles sobriety in a realistic, insightful, and mature way. Do they make jokes along the way? Of course. But BoJack has always been able to ground its real moments, then balance out the heavy with the absurd. As someone who has watched their loved ones go through rehab, who's attended those friends and family meetings, this season was accurate as all get out. I'm sure this is true for a lot of people, but BoJack has always been a really rough show for me to watch. Viewing someone's downward spiral with addiction wasn't something I was really keen on sitting down to. It took me a while to get into the series, and a lot of me accepting the series, and consequently falling in love with it, was due to how the writers have handled addiction as a whole. BoJack's horrible behavior is never excused, but often explained. And even those explanations are sometimes unsatisfying, and the characters call it out. When someone is an ass, you get to fully react to them being an ass, no matter why they are that way. People have bad lives sometimes, or bad things happen to them, and that does not excuse their behavior.
But I know that out there it's hard and confusing, and it's just, I
But
don't...
you're not alone. You have a wonderful support system.
I applaud this show for showing the idea of really loving someone, but being able to not like them or like their actions. This season was therapeutic for me, as well as BoJack, and it got me incredibly invested in his recovery process. But like any Al-Anon goer knows, it's only a matter of time until someone's sobriety is challenged. While we're all sad about the show coming to a close, BoJack attempting sober living seems like the natural final chapter for him in this story. We see his character shift from being a sheer force of chaos and destruction to being a proactive and helpful one, albeit with some screw-ups and badly timed shenanigans along the way. BoJack's mistakes now feel more like accidents, or well-intentioned incidents, not products of selfishness like we've seen in the past. While we're obviously very focused on how BoJack is doing, we're seeing our side characters grow and mature as well. Princess Carolyn struggles with being a working single mother. She's trying to have it all. The episode The New Client brilliantly executes her exhaustion thanks to the visual addition of multiple Princess Carolyns performing mommy and manager tasks to show us just how worn down PC is thanks to juggling everything. Side quest. When she names the untitled Princess Carolyn project Ruthie, the name of her fake ancestor in the episode about her and her fertility, I screamed. If you didn't, are you even a BoJack Horseman fan? I have been rooting for PC since season 1, and I'm so glad she got some W's this season. It is about damn time.
Is that silly? The Fugees were egregious when they got interviewed by Regis.
This awesome episode largely looks at Princess Carolyn's efforts to juggle motherhood and a chaotic job that perpetually features a reminder of her baby that nags through the entry and further wears down Princess Carolyn and the audience. I feel a lot of the visual choices this season were really smart and further illustrated the haze that comes with exhaustion and addiction. She also gets one of the best word avalanches yet. Wait, you're telling me your dumb drone drowned a tower and drowned downtown Julie Brown's dummy drummy dum-da-dum-dum-dum, dousing her newly found goose down hand-me-down gown?
Yes, that is exactly right.
I'll be right down.
Amy Sedaris is a treasure and must be protected at all costs. I have love yous and strangers with candy. Diane finds herself in a surprisingly healthy, supportive relationship with her former cameraman, who encourages her to treat her feelings of anxiety and depression. Diane even says at one point that her best stuff, meaning her best writing, comes when she really hates herself.
This is all part of my writing process. My best stuff comes out when I hate myself.
I am so glad a show so steeped in depression addressed this, and addressed Diane's fear of seeming different, emotionally and physically. While we don't get a lot of on-screen time of Diane and BoJack together, we definitely feel the depth and importance of their bond. The relationship doesn't feel as toxically codependent as we've seen in the past. We see their relationship growing, evolving, and becoming better. They need each other, sure. But now that they have a relationship that doesn't depend on physical proximity and mutually assured self-destruction, they're better. Mr. Peanut Butter finally comes clean to Pickles about his adultery in an episode that has an almost Benny Hill absurdity to it with the rest of our cast. The two then navigate how to move forward in their relationship in, well, some would argue a questionable fashion, but hey, fair is fair.
The only logical way to be even would be if I got to sleep with somebody else.
Okay, if that's what needs to happen.
Really?
Yeah.
Pickles, like most modern pugs, is all about that online life, and when her pickle pack, her online fans, let the word out about PB's infidelity, he faces adversity probably for the first time in his life. People don't like him. In a brilliant managerial move, Princess Carolyn makes him out to be a sad dog to gain sympathy, and our happy-go-lucky boy becomes the face of depression on a national level. Even Todd gets a heartfelt storyline as he and his estranged stepfather, from whom he gets his Hispanic last name, come together to help Todd's mom. We learn more about Todd's home life and how Todd just needs to be accepted. We'll definitely be getting more Chavez family drama in part 2. Not only do these episodes dive deeper into our characters, they also tackle incredibly timely issues. Megacorporations and monopolies, film franchises, unionized workforces, women in Hollywood, or Hollywood in this case. This is a cartoon, and sure, they remind you it's a silly cartoon when they say things like billionaires can murder anyone they want, but the satire stings in this current climate.
Hold on. Just because it passed the House doesn't mean the Senate
Really, Diane?
Okay, but the president could still veto.
Really, Diane?
All right, sure, but the Supreme Court. Okay, I get it.
The final half of Season 6 will air in January of 2020. While Netflix has divided seasons for other animated series, this is a first for BoJack Horseman. We'll ultimately have more episodes overall, and if you binge a series like me, you get a breather. The show can tackle these heavy themes without making me feel the need to crawl under a gravity blanket and pop antidepressants. The audience and the episodes themselves can breathe. That being said, I wasn't wowed by any particular episode like I have been in past seasons. And this definitely felt like the first half of a season, which, I mean, it is, so there's nothing wrong there. I'm just wondering what our fish out of water or free churro is going to be for Season 6. Don't get me wrong, this is a solid season, but Season 5 was fireworks, and this feels a bit like a fizzle. I'm hoping Season 6 Part 2 truly blows me away with how this series further pushes the boundaries of what an animated show can do. We've been building BoJack up over these 8 episodes, and within the last few minutes of Episode 8, we know that the dominoes are finally lined up to fall down and come at BoJack with the harsh consequences of his choices. It appears Hollyhock is about to hear how BoJack got Penny and her friends drunk, our 1940s reporters are on the cusp of discovering about Penny and potentially BoJack's connection to Sarah Lynn getting her hands on the BoJack heroine, and BoJack's former director Kelsey could find out how BoJack choked out Gina on the set of Filbert. While his actions have affected him mentally and emotionally and caused him to drink and lash out, BoJack hasn't had to really answer for any of these things in a more public forum. With PB, we touch on how a celebrity can bounce back. But in this era of cancel culture, can someone like BoJack Horseman have his actions exposed and get to keep being a public figure? Or, as he's just been hired to be, a professor at a university? We have a lot to speculate about what's going to happen in Part 2 between now and January. Will Princess Carolyn bring Ralph back into her life? Will Todd reconcile with his family? And will he have a new love interest? Will Diane be able to complete her book, or will she continue to grapple with herself? And, most importantly, what is going to happen to BoJack? He's finally let Hollyhock in closer, and that relationship could now be lost. His newfound career could go out the window, and his friends, who still don't know the extent of what happened with Penny and Gina, could change their tune about him. And maybe all of that leads BoJack back to his old ways, or worse. While the series creator has flat out said, "I don't believe in endings," many have speculated that the series will end full stop with BoJack killing himself, either knowingly or accidentally with drugs and alcohol. I'm really hoping it doesn't go that way. After all we've done to get to this point in the series, it'd be too much, man. Question is though, guys, how do you feel about these 8 episodes? What do you think will be the fate of our horseman? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks again to all of our sponsors, to you guys buying TeePublic Tees, and everyone checking out the channel. If you want more videos, just click to the left there. And thanks for watching. See you, Space Cowboy.